Come be a part of Doc Holliday's Rock Splitting Politics with your host, Dr. Ed Holliday. Hear the voices of liberty speaking all across America. Doc Holliday provides thought-provoking interviews and commentary about the issues and actions that are afflicting this country and what we need to do to get America back on track. Get fired up, get inspired, get on board with Doc Holliday's Rock Splitting Politics right now.
And here we go.
Hey, once again, that's the sound of rock cracking, and across the nation, maybe rocks are cracking all over the place. Hey, did you know last week Roger Stone was in a dilemma? Now, does he get a new trial or not? Those of you who hadn't been listening, Roger Stone was sentenced last week. And today's guest, we got Daphne Barak back on. And guess what? Before the sentencing last week, Roger Stone was tweeting and trying to get a hold of Daphne Barak and talk to her. But guess what? She's on Doc Holliday's Rock Splitting Politics this week to tell us what Roger Stone was trying to get in touch with her about. And you'll hear it right here on Doc Holliday's Rock Splitting Politics in just a few minutes. Before we get started into this week's show about Roger Stone and some of the things that have been happening here in the last few days with Daphne Barak. And she wrote the book. Remember, we had her on at the end of last year, her book, To Plea or Not to Plea, the story about Rick Gates, who was one of the key witnesses in the Mueller report, and a fascinating book. But it's still happening in what is going on in today's world, and she had some insights to that. And she just talked to the president last week, so we have some of the what she learned from the president, and interesting show. We want to get onto that, but before we do, let me just remind everybody you're listening to Doc Holliday's Rock Splitting Politics right here on webtalkradio.net. That's webtalkradio.net, and we are so glad we got new listeners. People want to tune in and see what is happening with Roger Stone. What's Doc Holliday's take? What's Daphne Barak's take? Well, we're going to find out in just a minute. Before we do that, let's see what's going on in the race for the Democratic nomination. Guess what? There's not a Democrat winning on the top end. It's a socialist. His name is Bernie Sanders. He almost won in 2016, the Democratic nomination. He wasn't even a member of the Democratic Party. I think he since has joined the Democratic Party, but he still calls himself a socialist. He says a Democratic socialist, but a socialist is a socialist. And it's so funny. Listen, if you listen to MSNBC and some of these networks that are they are petrified of Bernie Sanders. Why? You think they are leaning so far left. They're so leftist, these the mainstream or lamestream media, but they are scared to death of Bernie Sanders getting a nomination. Why? Because they feel like he cannot beat Donald Trump. And therefore, it is so interesting. They are calling candidates in the race for the Democratic nomination. They're calling them, their conservative voters are voting for them. Moderate voters are voting for them. They're calling the Latino and some African American vote conservative. If it's conservative, they should in no way be voting in the Democratic primary, because there's not even close to a conservative out there. Even their moderates have been pushed so far to the left. And that's what's going on. And in Nevada, they have Bernie Sanders, who has won again. Iowa, New Hampshire. And Iowa, we know, is still contested. They don't even know who won. They can't even finish counting the votes. Donald Trump talked about that in his rally at Las Vegas last week. And he got the crowd energized. And in fact, let me just play this clip from last week when Donald Trump came out a day before the Democratic caucuses, and this is what he had to say in Las Vegas just last week.
I Las Vegas. Great to be with you. They have a big election tomorrow. We've already won the state. We've already won. I like ours better. We just take it. Just take it. We want it. I like it that better. You know, they say they're going to have a lot of problems tomorrow. I hate to tell you this. I don't know. Have you heard? I hear their computers are all messed up just like they were in Iowa. They're not going to be able to count their vote. They're going to tell you about health care. They're going to tell you about our military and the jet fighters and the missiles and rockets. But they can't count votes. They just can't count them. They can't count votes. But they're saying they may not be able to do it again. They're still trying to tell us. I called up yesterday. How are they doing in Iowa? Was that 2 weeks ago? They say, we're getting close. They're not getting close. They'll never know. They'll never know. But I hear the same thing could happen tomorrow. I hope it doesn't, actually. I hope it doesn't. But I'm delighted to be back in a state I love. I have a beautiful building right down the road with the proud, hard-working patriots of Nevada. You got to say Nevada.
And that was Trump on a roll in Las Vegas, Nevada. And I was out there in Las Vegas to visit some friends just before Christmas. And out there, there's amazing growth. And what Nevada was 20 years ago, 30 years ago, even 10 years ago, it's changed so much in diversity. It's changed in so many people coming from around the country, and especially a lot from California. So why would Trump win Nevada in the general election? It's because Trump is winning over people who didn't vote for him in 2016. And that's what Bernie Sanders is scaring the Democratic establishment. And in many ways, it reminds everyone exactly what went on in 2016. So many in the Republican establishment did not want Donald Trump. Therefore, we still got some never-Trumpers. It was unusual. And part of the we'll just let Daphne Barak in a few minutes. She's going to tell us a story. She told me before we got on the phone, and it's in her book, actually. But she's going to tell us some of it's in the book, but she'll give us insight of Mitt Romney and from Rick Gates, his perspective of some of the things been on with Mitt Romney and between him and Donald Trump. And so we'll get to that. And I just wanted to say that Nevada and Bernie Sanders is it going to coalesce around Bernie, or some of the others below him going to team up? Someone say, I'll get out and I'll support you. You know, that's where Donald Trump, and I think I said it on this show 4 years ago when he was running ahead of everyone. Of course, we know he's a winner now, but everybody knew that Donald Trump was a fighter. And Marco Rubio, they pushed him down. They pushed Ted Cruz down. There was a moment in that election that Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz, if they had combined forces, they may have been able to get enough delegates to keep Donald Trump from running away and bringing it to a broker convention. But they wouldn't do it. The same way the Democrats now, if they could get together those who are opposing Bernie Sanders and work out some agreements now, they might be able to stop Bernie. Will they do that? I doubt it. I don't know. We will see. But Donald Trump is a formidable opponent that, if you're talking about Nevada winning for Trump, if the state voting for Trump, then, I mean, it's over for the Democrats. It is over. So Nevada represents a state that Trump has a chance to win, and he should win if he can get more people to get out and vote for him than in 2016. So it's worth watching to see what is going on, not only in Nevada, but around the country as these Democrat primaries continue on. Now, I will say one of the things that I wanted to say, Daphne Barak was a wonderful interview, gave us so much inside information. She knows the president, meets with him, her and her husband on a regular basis, knew him before he became president, and are quite close friends with the Trump family. So I appreciate her insights, and we are going to get her on the phone and start talking right now.
Starting with radio, we discovered the whole world, and some of you guys are so amazing and intelligent and passionate. So we became good friends, and became again and again and again, both me and my husband. And
right, we've had you both on.
It's a pleasure. We are discovering new friendships and anything we can help.
On radio, you don't have to worry about makeup and getting. You don't have to worry about getting ready for the cameras.
Well, thank God, right now we are good because I came back from tomorrow. But I've done things like 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning for my pajamas. That's a big thing, right?
Yeah, that helps out when you're on radio, doesn't it? But well, good. Let's just get right into the questions, if that's all right with you.
After, and don't forget, I think don't forget tomorrow is a Roger Stone sentencing, and Jizz, I wouldn't want to be in his shoes, talking about shoes, right?
Right, we were talking about shoes, and but the sentencing is tomorrow for Roger Stone?
Yeah, could you imagine? And he called me, I don't know Roger, from Adam, and he called me on Wednesday a few days ago, and they asked for my help. He called through a colleague of yours, Pastor Greg Young. He heard my radio show with him, and he was trying, I guess, to get in touch with me through many radio shows, many have seen, nobody allowed him. And this guy never gave him my number, but he called me. And I said, okay, because in my book, To Play or Not to Play, the story of Gates and the Mueller investigation, it does suggest heavily, I was just protecting Rick from extra punishment, but it just suggests heavily that Rick Gates did not want to be the key witness against Roger Stone to send him to jail, which he did.
Well, talking about that, Daphne, let me ask you just, in your book for our listeners, what happened of Rick Gates? Has he had his sentencing? I know the listeners want to know.
Okay, he had his sentencing December 18th. He won his sentencing around June, July. He fought against it badly. They were threatening him, extorting him, everything that he could not get it unless he testified at the Roger Stone trial, which was not part of the deal. But, this deal is so one-sided. And they wanted him to say that he listened to a conversation between Roger Stone and Trump about WikiLeaks, and then Trump afterwards said more WikiLeaks emails coming. But he actually, it wasn't the whole truth. They basically forced him to testify, and it was half of the truth. He listened only to the Trump side of the conversation. He doesn't know what the fact was in store.
He never heard what Roger. He never heard what Roger Stone said. Is that?
He never heard that side. Right. And then secondly, he said in my book that he was fighting all against his testimony. He didn't want to do it, and also he, at all point in another part of the book, said that he actually never took, Manafort, Trump, never took Roger Stone seriously, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
So they basically saw that, what's the story, right?
So let me just tell the listeners, I won't tell everybody that, and I've read your book, a great book, I recommend it, and then get it on Amazon. It's
you have to do
plea
that.
or not to plea.
That. But I'm really doing it to help Roger. I didn't mean to do it. I'm starting my own film right now with Trump, a huge Trump film, and my book is becoming a film. My husband is becoming a huge voice about Turkey and right. Syria and Iran, and his book is being reprinted in major 3 countries. He's becoming a part of the administration, so I don't have time to be. I just agreed to do that to help Roger, which I don't know from Adam. I've never met a injustice for him, right?
Yeah, and you've never met Roger Stone, you said, but
I've never met him in
but
my
he did
life,
call you after reading your book or reading the excerpts from your book.
I just agreed to do the right thing by him, and I saw Trump today, and John Voight, my friend and partner, and I saw him yesterday. We never talked to Trump. Even when I was talking to Trump about Rick Gates, all over the stuff, I never talked about pardoning. We know the difference between right and wrong. we cannot do that. I just said to Trump that Rick has not flipped against him, and Trump asked me to relay his, his concern about Rick's well-being and his wife who was battling cancer. But we never do this kind of stuff, so I would never do that. But I just feel that 9 years. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I mean, that is incredible that they would go to 9 years, and it makes that whole, again, this whole Mueller thing, the prosecutors and that, the Wiseman and these others that just, and then they're writing a book and making money off of it, and
the Wiseman, right?
Yeah.
Hello, right?
Yeah,
I mean, it's
right.
just crazy. So I just wanted you to highlight. I really didn't. It's not like I'm protecting a friend, but I didn't mean this. I didn't meet this guy, and when he tried to reach me, he couldn't because we don't have mutual friends or whatever. And I'm a friend of the president. My friends are billionaires and head of state, and we have nothing in common. But I know the difference between right and wrong. And I said, okay. And in the middle of me, you'll hear from me privately, and then of course you'll be privately, exclusively in the promotion that I'm starting to film a huge film with the biggest names in Hollywood as of next month.
Is this supposed to?
And Trump is so happy about it.
Daphne, let me break in real quick right here. Let me remind our listeners, you're listening to Doc Holliday's Rock Splitting Politics. You're listening to us right here on webtalkradio.net. We're glad to have you. For our listeners who are not used to listening to us, we come up with a new show every week, up all week on webtalkradio.net. And we're glad to have each and every one of you tell your friends and neighbors about Doc Holliday's Rock Splitting Politics, where we tell you some things you just won't hear anywhere else. And we are glad to have as our guest Daphne Barak, the author of To Plea or Not to Plea. And in a minute, we're going to let her finish telling us about this film that she's working on with some of the top names in Hollywood. Before we do that, let me just remind you, Doc Holliday also has a book out. I got a book out that I wrote with my friend, the niece of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Dr. Alveda King. And you've seen her in many times next to the president at pro-life events. But she and I and Dr. Alex McFarland have put a book together called Bedrock Truth. And you can go to my website. You can go to the picture of the book right on Rock Splitting Politics homepage and click on that. It should take you right to my website where you can order that book, Bedrock Truth. Also some other books we'd like to get out to you. We have just a few of the older books, like from the Tea Party days, called Walk With Me. Also, the Rock Splitting Politics book is more about the attempt and the successful attempt to re-elect Barack Obama in 2012. It was the Tea Party version of what we wanted to go on and didn't happen. And now in hind vision, looking back, man, it might have been a disaster if we had Mitt Romney. If we had Mitt Romney to beat Barack Obama in 2012, we probably would have never had Donald J. Trump. So sometimes some blessings come in disguises. But let's get back as Daphne's going to explain a little more about this film. But Daphne, is this film going to be ready before the election, or is it something that's ongoing?
Yeah, before the election. Yeah.
You got to work hard then, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. Before the elections, and also, Saving Amy is getting a remake right now. She'll be all over the place, and I'm doing a huge thing about racism, and also my husband is all going to on a think tank and everything. My plate is so crazy, but I just took ever since we called on Wednesday. I took everything Thursday just to put like huge TV and radios like as yourself to help him.
Right.
Because I don't know him, but I said, this is an old guy. 9 years? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I don't say, by the way, Ed, I don't say that he didn't do anything wrong. You cannot just lie, whatever, even for a silly, stupid thing. But this is like 6 months. You know what I'm saying? Like, Get
Right.
it out 3 months, whatever, right?
It's common sense. I mean, that's the way I know. If they find him guilty, and they did, there's a price to pay. He needs to pay a price, but he shouldn't be paying.
Because you cannot just do that.
An unusual
even for
price.
silly things, but yeah, what are we talking about? What are you talking about? What? I mean, this is crazy. It's not even Paul Manafort for tax evasion and fraud and this and that and that and that, and even then he should not be there because
9 years, yeah.
This is like somebody making stupid lies to be feeling needed because Trump threw him out of the bus. Okay, you don't know. You need me. Okay, so stupid. He was also stupid to text message and email. He didn't understand. He's so old. He didn't understand what it means. And then, boom. So give him 3 months, 6 months, but 9 years.
9 years,
Jeffrey Epstein wouldn't get it.
Right. Then, and again, for our listeners, in your book, you talk about what Rick was talking about and Roger Stone about, but he wanted to. It's like he wanted to be needed.
No, I mean it's terrible. It's terrible. What do you think, Ed, would happen tomorrow with Roger Stone?
I could see him getting 6 months to a year.
I don't think so. I think she's tough. She's saying, okay, I'm going to look for his appeal for another, so he's not going to go to jail before. He's texting me back and forth. I told him not to text message me by beyond Signal, and anyway, I'm just very cordial.
Well, yeah, you don't need to get caught up in that either, do you?
Are you kidding me? No, but I'm a television interviewer. But basically, I'm thinking probably not 9. So probably she will give him like 3-4 years, but it's not going to go to jail before. She has to go by the book, okay? She cannot go by another thing. So by the book, she will probably get 3-4 years or something. I think so, and then he's not going to jail before the appeal, but then she will deny not the appeal, before the appeal to get a new trial, and then she will deny it anyway. So it's just a game.
Well, and that's where with Roger Stone, he has he has a sort of following. Somebody that doesn't know him, like me, never know, doesn't know the story.
I've been doing the shows for the last 7 days. Are you kidding me?
Well, but what I say on Roger Stone, I mean, he's well known. He was always on the InfoWars before the 2016 election, and he liked being a player. I mean, everybody could see he liked the limelight, and that's what got him in trouble when it.
No, you don't have to do that. That's between you and I, Ed. It's a big mistake. The judges, they don't like that.
Well, and that's where he pushed the judge when she put the gag order on him, and those are some things that a judge will know more. I mean, I don't know because I wasn't there during the trial, so he probably will get more than a year or two.
I think they will probably be in the middle, whatever.
But that's probably the safe thing. If they say 9 years again, then they may judge if the judge doesn't like Trump, they may say 9 years just to.
No, she's an Obama appointee.
Right. So it'll be interesting to see. And for Roger Stone, I don't know if they've made him where he can't do a book deal, but I mean, at least he has a chance to write some and maybe recoup some of his attorney fees. And I know he says he's broke, and so I do feel for him. Somebody that's already 70 years old.
Stupid things between you and I. But when you lie, you don't text an email.
Well, I mean, that's the whole thing.
He's so old, he doesn't probably know what he was doing. No, I mean, it's terrible. It's terrible. What do you think, Ed, would happen tomorrow with Roger Stone?
I could see him getting 6 months to a year.
I don't think so. I think she's tough. She's saying, okay, I'm going to look for his appeal for another, so he's not going to go to jail before. He's texting me back and forth. I told him not to text message me by beyond Signal, and anyway, I'm just very cordial.
Well, yeah, you don't need to get caught up in that either, do you?
Are you kidding me? No, but I'm a television interviewer. But basically, I'm thinking probably not 9. So it's probably she will give him like 3-4 years. But it's not going to go to jail before. She has to go by the book, okay? She cannot go by another thing. So by the book, she will probably get 3-4 years or something. I think so. And then he's not going to jail before the appeal, but then she will deny not the appeal, before they appeal to get a new trial, and then she will deny it anyway. So it's just a game.
Well, and that's where with Roger Stone, he has I guess he has a sort of following. You know, somebody that doesn't know him, like me, never know, doesn't know the story.
I've been doing the shows for the last 7 days. Are you kidding me?
Well, but what I say on Roger Stone, I mean, he's well known. He was always on the InfoWars before the 2016 election, and he liked being a player. I mean, everybody could see he liked the limelight, and that's what got him in trouble when it.
No, you don't have to do that. That's between you and I, Ed. It's a big mistake. The judges, they don't like that.
Well, and that's where he pushed the judge when she put the gag order on him, and those are some things that the judge will know more. I mean, I don't know because I wasn't there during the trial, so he probably will get more than a year or two.
I think they will probably be in the middle, whatever.
But that's probably the safe thing. If they say 9 years again, then they may judge if the judge doesn't like Trump, they may say 9 years just to.
No, she's an Obama appointee.
Right. So it'll be interesting to see. And for Roger Stone, I don't know if they've made him where he can't do a book deal, but I mean, at least he has a chance to write some and maybe recoup some of his attorney fees. And I know he says he's broke, and so I do feel for him. Somebody that's already 70 years old.
Stupid things between you and I. But when you lie, you don't text an email.
Well, I mean, and that's the whole thing.
He's so old, he doesn't probably know what he was doing. I also want to tell you afterwards what we are doing about a joint venture that are putting few radio hosts on television as of end of March, and I really want to do it for you.
Okay. Oh, yeah, we'd like to talk to you about that. I will tell you one thing that you may not know, and we've covered on our show many times. Been working for years about racism, especially I'm in Mississippi.
So we have to really. Where are you based at again? Tell me. You're in my husband's favorite place, right?
Okay. Well, I'm in Tupelo, Mississippi. I'm in the deep South. So.
Okay, so we have to meet. But
we'll need to do
my
that.
husband and I will talk to you tomorrow. And also because we are doing a joint venture with another media owner, so I'm a partner of the daughter of Rupert Murdoch, and they will be on the dish mid-March, and I'm putting several of radio hosts there.
Okay, yeah, be very interested in that, and like
of course, because we need you guys, and I think it'll be very interesting to get few of your voices there.
Going on a subject I wanted to before I go on to, I do want to talk about General Flynn, but there's one part in your book that you recorded what Rick was saying, Rick Gates, talking about Romney. Now, you had this book, it was finished in late 2019. I don't know when it came out, but it was way before the impeachment. Nobody knew how the trial in the Senate was going to go. And I found this quote, I think it's on around page 124 or something, but and Rick Gates was saying, and let me quote what Rick Gates said that you wrote in your book. I felt that Trump and Romney were not yet through. They'd get back in the ring in the near future, either to cement some lost understanding or to continue their rivalry round after round.
Exactly.
Unquote.
Yeah. Don't you feel in politics, it's always the same players somehow? Even Bloomberg wants to bring Hillary and all that. I mean, it's like
it's unbelievable how
all the same players, and even if it's new names, they are being handled by the same players, right?
Yeah, and you think Romney was out of the picture forever or anything, and he comes back as Senate, and then he's the only Republican that votes against Trump in the trial, the impeachment trial in the Senate, and it's just and Trump calls him a loser again, and that's and he, you know, it's he missed the presidency.
There's a very funny story about Romney. I'll share with your listeners, right?
Yeah, please do. Oh, don't you want to hear this story about Rick Gates related about Mitt Romney and Donald Trump? And we're going to have to wait till next week because we're running out of time. And what a great interview with Daphne Barak. She's the author of To Plea or Not to Plea. And we got a link to her book on our homepage right here of Doc Holliday's Rock Splitting Politics. And want to remind you that next week, with all the rocks splitting and breaking with this running for the Democratic nomination, what is going to go on in the next week? Well, we'll be covering it here, Doc Holliday's Rock Splitting Politics. And we'll have some more from this interview, fascinating interview with Daphne Barak. And so to next week, take a listen to what Donald Trump had to say about Mitt Romney.
So we're having great polls. You're seeing the polls, except for some of the fake ones. And if I was treated fairly, meaning if you were treated fairly by the fake news, we'd be up 20 points higher in the polls. There wouldn't even be a competitive election. Unfortunately, it's probably going to be competitive, but I actually think we're going to win by a lot, just like we did last time. But I really believe we'd be up 20 points. I mean, all they do is negative, phony stuff. Russia. The impeachment hoax. That's a hoax. But, you know, we had great support from the Republican Party. In the House, it was 197 to nothing. And in the Senate, it was 52.5 to a half. You know what the half was? A half-wit.
Thanks for joining us today, and remember to listen again next week for another edition of Doc Holliday's Rock Splitting Politics. You can order Ed's new book, Bedrock Truths, by clicking on the book cover right in front of you on the screen, or visit DocHolliday.org. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you again next week.